MLS is back. We just had a full midweek card on Wednesday, and we're right back at it this weekend with MLS Matchday 34 taking place on Saturday and Sunday. Now, Wednesday in these parlay picks started off with great promise, starting off 2-0, and it looked like we were at least going to go 3-1, with Seattle leading all the way until the end when they coughed up a lead to draw in the final minutes with San Jose. That killed that parlay. Meanwhile, LAFC continued to struggle. They couldn't beat Austin, so broke even, going 2-2. Sometimes I feel guilty only betting on a lot of goal totals and scoring props and overs, but then we see a day like Wednesday and really many games and weeks in MLS where, such as on Wednesday, we saw 8 of 13 games saw 3 or more goals, and 10 of 13 hit the both teams to score bet. So sometimes if it's not broke, there's no need to fix it. And in fact, of the 9 separate picks I included in the parlays on Wednesday, 7 of the 9 hit, and the 2 that didn't were when we were trying to take a team to win. So there'll be no more of that this weekend. Back to just scoring props. Let's get back to the grind. This weekend's MLS predictions in the 4 different parlays that I've cooked up for this weekend, starting with New York City FC and Inter Miami. Miami drew 2-2 in Atlanta on Wednesday, with Messi and friends coming off the bench later in that game. Now, it's a third game in a week, so they're going to likely be on a minutes restriction, you would think, again. Miami have only 3 losses in 25 games. They've scored multiple goals in 14 of 16, but then the both teams have scored over 2.5. It's gone 16-2 in their past 18. So that, like it is almost every game, is always in play. This looks like it could be another bet in that vein. New York City FC got pumped 5-1 at home to Philly Wednesday. That makes them winless in 5. They only have 1 regulation win in 13. They've still scored, though, in 8 straight and in 10 of 11. With scores of 5-1, 1-1, 4-2, 2-2, 1-1, 2-1, 1-1, and 4-2. Certainly, this bet looks like it is probable again if you're betting on goals. Way back in March, though, it was just 1-1. Last year, there was also a 1-1 and a 1-0 New York win. To the surprise of no one, money has poured in on goals in this game. I saw the both teams to score an over 2.5 at -120 over at Bet365, which could have been good enough all by itself earlier in the week. I now see that all the way up to -163. Still looks like a good bet, but we'll have to throw something else in there to make it a little bit better. Let's go to Montreal, CF Montreal, and the Chicago Fire. Montreal drew 2-2 and won 1-0 in their last 2 games, but they had lost 4-1, 5-0, and 2-0 before that. They have just 5 wins in 27 games in all competitions of late, just 2-9. They've conceded in all 9 and given up a goal in 14 of 15. Chicago lost 1-0 away to Nashville this week. They have 1 win in 8, have conceded in all 8. The both teams to score an over 2.5. It's 7-1 in that time. In totals betting, Montreal's 20-9 to over 2.5. Chicago is 19-11. Back in March, it was a wild, windy 4-3 game for Chicago. This time, all I want is at least 1 goal from both. That would be a good bet to bump this up in both teams to score, or even simpler, just going over 1.5. While no one is expecting either of these teams to make the playoffs after awful seasons, they are both just 2 points, Montreal, and 4 points, Chicago, out of the playoff spots. And this game will be a chance for both to think that they could get the full 3 points. Draws aren't going to do much here for either team as we are winding down in the season. So let's go at least over 1.5 between Montreal and Chicago, paired with the both teams to score over 2.5, with New York City FC and Miami coming in at -112 odds. Parlay number 2, Sporting Kansas City, Minnesota United. Minnesota has already won twice at home this season between them, 2-1 and 3-1. Last year, SKC won 3-1 as well in the other most recent game. Now, 6 of 8 have also seen both teams to score between them. That's a common bet that pays off in most SKC games all season long, and it hit again on Wednesday with them winning 4-1. SKC is trying to keep their playoff hopes alive at 3-1-1 in their past 5. Now, one of those wins was in the U.S. Open Cup, of which they might be looking ahead to with the final coming up next week. SKC have scored in 26 of 30 MLS games, but given up a goal in 27 of 30. Both teams to score bets for SKC this season are 24-6, and it's hit in 7 of their past 9 MLS games. Minnesota's form slightly improved. They came out of the League Cup with a 3-2 loss, but then won 2-1 and 3-1. But then they fell back into the loss column on Wednesday, losing 2-1 at home to Cincinnati. They have only 4 wins in 16. 2 of those came against San Jose, 1 against Nebraska. There's been 3 or more goals, though, in 8 of their last 12. And all but 1, 28 of 29 in MLS this season, have seen 2 or more. As bad as the Loons may have been recently, they have scored in 11 of 12. Got to keep betting on the goal-scoring trends for these teams here. We'll go both teams to score and do a similar approach between Real Salt Lake and the Portland Timbers. Portland won 3-0 at home in July. Last year, RSL won 4-3, and they drew 0-0, and Portland won 2-1. All of those high-scoring games were in Portland, whereas the 0-0 was in RSL. This one is in Salt Lake. for whatever that might be worth. RSL got a win on Wednesday, 3-2 at home over Dallas, despite no Chicho Arango out with suspension. He should be back here. Anderson Julio had a brace, and Brian Vera a goal from a PK. RSL, they have been sputtering though with only 3 wins in 9 across recent competitions. There's been 2 or more goals though in each of their past 11 games, 3 or more goals in 8 of 11. All Portland games feature goals. It's what we've been betting on and talking about all season long. 3.8 goals per game to be exact. That's tied for the highest in the league with Miami. It's been this way with high-scoring Portland games all season. But more recently, let's just look back at some of the goal totals of 6, 3, 1, 8, 4, 4, 3, 5, 3, 5, 5, and 5 if we go back over the last number of weeks. When you have a poor defense and 3 players like Mora, Evander, and Rodriguez, all with at least 14 goals, that being the first time in MLS history that that's happened with 3 players with 14 or more, it's no wonder there's tons of goals in their games. This could easily be a both teams to score over 2.5 or maybe over 3.5. For the sake of this parlay, we'll go both teams to score. RSL Portland, pair it with both teams to score. SKC Minnesota, plus 112 odds. Parlay number 3, the LA Galaxy, Vancouver Whitecaps. There's not been fewer than 2 goals in a game between these two in any of the last 10 meetings if you go back to 2021. In 8 of those 10, there's been 3 or more. This season, LA already won 3-1 in Vancouver in April. And if we look at some of those other scores, 2-1, 4-2, 1-1, 3-0, 5-2, 1-1, 2-1, 2-1, 3-0. So there's a history of goals between these two teams. LA is the best home team in all of MLS. They're 11-3-1. They've outscored their opponents 37-22. But then Vancouver is the 4th best road team at 7-4-4, outscoring opponents 23-17. The Caps have been rolling. They only have 1 loss in 8, only 3 losses as well. If we go further back in 15, they've also only given up 1 goal in their past 5 games, though they've only scored 5 goals in 5 games as well. So there's been a lot of unders in Vancouver games. But then Brian White had been out for some of those games. He returned on Wednesday. He scored in the 1-1 draw with Houston. LA won 4-2 at home to LAFC. Then they lost 4-2 away to Portland. They're back at home where they scored multiple goals in 11 of 12. Even though Vancouver's games have been lower scoring, they don't usually play well when they step up against better opponents. Galaxy basically score a couple goals in almost every game, especially when they're at home. We're just going to ask LA to score over 1.5 in leg 1 of the parlay. And then we'll pair it with one more result, another late game here. We're going to hope for some chaos, some little MLS after dark action between 2 teams that may not make the playoffs. So there's no reason to hold back here. And it's San Jose and St. Louis. There's nothing left to play for San Jose. Out of the playoffs, the clear wooden spoon leaders as well. The Quakes did, though, rescue a point in Seattle on Wednesday, and they fought back to draw 2-2. They've still given up 2 goals in 3 straight games, and they have only 3 regulation wins in their last 22. So never betting a San Jose win, rarely a good bet. Betting a San Jose to at least score, though, not always terrible. St. Louis just lost 3-1 at home, which continued a trend of goals in their games, with recent score lines of 2-2, 2-1, 4-4, 4-2, 3-1, 1-1, and 2-1 to round out their past 8. St. Louis won 2-0 in July between these teams, and also 2-1 and 3-0 last season. You would expect St. Louis to get on the score sheet, but then San Jose certainly at home is looking to erase that trend of never beating St. Louis. So we'll go both teams to score over 2.5, pair that with the Galaxy to score at least 2, and we'll get a decent plus 147 price on that parlay. One more, we'll go 3 games spread all over the place, early games, late games, and even including the Sunday game. And we'll start it off with the Columbus Crew and Orlando City. Columbus has already won in Orlando 2-0 this season. Now they'll get to play at home. The Lions are rolling with 2-0, 3-0, and 2-0 wins, but all of those games came at home. Their low road game since Leagues Cup was a 3-0 loss to the lowly Sporting Kansas City. Orlando has just 2 losses in 15, though, in regulation of late. The Crew are the Crew. If you've been watching betting MLS, you know they're the top team, one of the top teams, definitely MLS Cup contenders. After a 4-0 loss and a 0-0 draw, they got back in the win column Wednesday, winning 2-0 in Toronto. Prior to those other 2 games, they had scored in 16 straight, and they had won 7 straight. The Crew at home are always a good bet. They've only lost 3 times in the Wilfred Nancy era when playing at lower.com field. Orlando is good, and they're 6-3-5 on the road, but they've also given up 26 road goals in 14 games. You always have to consider betting a Crew win, especially at home. So if you're looking for a straight bet, that's certainly a way to go. For this parlay, all I want is Columbus to get on the score sheet, Columbus to score. You could go Columbus double chance or draw no bet as well. FC Dallas, LAFC for leg number 2. This season, LAFC won 1-0 at home, but each of the previous 10 other all-time meetings between these teams, there's been at least 2 or more goals. Dallas lost away to RSL on Wednesday, 3-2, but they did get some goals from guys who they've been missing recently for much of the year, in Jesus Ferreira and Alan Velasco. Still, they have only 1 win in 7, and they've given up multiple goals in 5 of their last 6, and a total of 13 goals allowed in that time. This is the worst we've seen LAFC in some time now, as they're winless in 4 games. They only have 1 win in 5 as well, and the scoring is down, and maybe that Dallas defense will be the remedy here, or maybe Dallas is getting LAFC at the perfect time. Tough to say. I think one way or another, we can at least see 2 goals, so we'll go over 1.5 for leg 2 in this parlay, and we'll round it out in the standalone game on Sunday between the Philadelphia Union and DC United. These two are on the brink of the playoffs, with Philly 9th, 33 points, DC also with 33 points, just outside in 10th. The Union just thumped New York City 5-1 in New York on Wednesday. They have wins in 8 of 13, and they have scored in 13 of 14, but have only 1 clean sheet in their last 8. DC is undefeated in 3, and they're 6-1-3 in their past 10. There's been 3 or more goals in 13 of their past 14, and both teams to score bet has hit in 5 straight, with scorelines of 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-3, and 2-1. They're always capable of scoring with Christian Benteke, but their defense has been letting in goals all season long. Scores between these 2 teams have been all over the place. It was already 2-2 this year, which bodes well for our both teams to score bet in this game that's coming up, and that was in May, and 3-1 Philly last year in the game prior to that. But then before that, we had 0-0, 0-0, 6-0, and 7-0 Philly back in 2022. DC, though, has only won 1 of the past 11. They'll want to erase that. Let's bet that this scoreline matches maybe closer to what we saw earlier this season. Bet goals from both Philly, DC, both teams to score. Dallas, LAFC over 1.5, and Columbus simply to score, coming in at plus 103 odds. We should be in with a chance to hit all of these different parlays. We're not doing asking for anything too crazy here. Just goals from a lot of teams that usually can score and usually concede. So let me know what you're betting this weekend in MLS. Drop those picks down there in the comments. If you like this video, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. You can even become a member to get extra picks for just $11 a month. And before you bet, check out signupexpert.com/shredthespread for great offers to boost your bankroll this fall. There are all kinds of great offers for new customers out there, even up to $1,500 of free bonus bets when you sign up. Check it out. That link is down there in the comments, and good luck this weekend.